If you've watched MrBeast's Cop vs. Criminal 100-Day Challenge, then you know I am the criminal that was featured in this 100-Day Challenge. I got casted in it back in February, and on this episode, I'm going to tell you guys all about my experience working with the biggest YouTuber in the world, MrBeast, and my experience just doing this 100-Day Challenge. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Bick. I was born and raised in Danbury, Connecticut. And by the time I was 18, 19 years old, I had already owned a nightclub, had my own concert production business, doing concerts at various venues at different colleges, kind of along the East Coast. And long story short of it, there's other episodes on my page about it. If you guys are unfamiliar with my story and want to check it out, there's a lot more in-depth episodes about this, but I made a bunch of terrible financial mistakes, lied about those mistakes, and went onto the FBI's radar and got indicted on 15 federal charges when I was 19, and went to trial, lost a trial, made a bunch more mistakes while I was on bond, and ultimately got sentenced to 3 years in federal prison when I was 21 years old in 2016. In 2019, I got out in January, right around my 24th birthday, just before I turned 24. And I worked at Whole Foods for 3 years, worked my way up to a prepared foods team leader. And I did that for a few years. Until one of my friends, who used to be the videographer at the club I owned, convinced me to start making TikToks about my prison experience. And so I sat in my car every day, sharing TikToks on my phone, talking about sitting to pee in prison, how I paid for protection in prison, just all these various prison stories, things I used to be so embarrassed talking about. But I finally had the courage to speak up about them and share my story, and they started to go viral. My first ever viral clip was, talking about solitary in prison, how I spent 6 months in solitary and lost almost 100 pounds. So that kind of started my journey on social media. This was in 2022, and I ended up quitting my job and dove into content. And it was a struggle at first. I was driving Uber, doing DoorDash, working at a frozen yogurt shop, maxing out my credit cards to pay the bills, and it was a struggle. And then I eventually started my podcast, Locked In with Bick, and started interviewing other people that went to prison, law enforcement officers, and former addicts, and just a variety of people in the criminal justice space. And within a few months, that kind of took off for me, and I reached 100,000 subscribers on YouTube that June in 2023, and I started my podcast, Locked In with Bick, and I've been doing that ever since then. Now I publish 5 episodes a week, and the interviews are really cool, so make sure you guys check them out. And for everyone that does know me and is familiar with my backstory, I just want to thank you guys for supporting me along this journey. It's so cool that life has brought me to this point. And I know you guys have heard me talking about the special project I was on. I made a post back in June about how I'm back from being off the mat for 3 months, and you guys could see me with my facial hair all grown. Yes, I'm back to baby face Ian now. But I know a lot of you guys were asking what I was doing, and now you know, because the MrBeast video came out. I was casted back in February of this year of 2025 in a MrBeast video where I had, as a former criminal that went to prison, had to spend 100 days with a former NYPD cop. And if I survived those 100 days, we both had to survive them, then we would win $500,000. And I'm going to tell you guys today everything that happened during that experience. So I think the best place to start is let's talk about how I got casted in this video. Beginning of February, I got a DM from a casting agent. Actually, I got multiple DMs from the same casting agent on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. I got an email, everything. And I was so close to not answering this DM. Not because I thought it was a scam, but because I have done so many of these casting things before. One of the reasons why I quit my job was because I followed along a casting agent and was doing the interviews and whatnot and thought I was going to be cast in some reality dating TV show or something. That never ended up happening. But these types of inquiries, when you have a social media following, are normal. Casting agents will DM you all the time. They're looking to cast you for the next big thing. Most of the time, it really never works out. I bet you the odds are pretty slim. I bet you for this specific project, they reached out to hundreds of ex-inmates and ex-cops just to fill this role. But for whatever reason, I quickly answered this woman and I hopped on a call with her, and she had me sign an NDA, and I couldn't talk about anything to anyone about it. And I knew no details. All I knew was at this point was that it was for MrBeast, and they were curious about my prison experience. They asked me a bunch of stories from my prison experience, how I built my platform. I gave them a tour of the jail cell that I actually built upstairs, which is probably honestly one of the reasons why they casted me in it, because they saw like I was already doing skits and everything like that. But I just want everyone to know I had no idea this was going to be prison themed or that I would be with a cop or anything like that. I really had no idea. I figured it was going to be about prison because they were asking prison questions, and out of all the influencers in the world, I mean, MrBeast works with the biggest creators, and there's just so many other people they could pick. And I didn't think that they would even be interested in me, even if I had a big following or, a decent sized following. So I did that initial interview, and I didn't hear anything for a couple weeks. And it was about the third week in February. They reached out to me, the same casting lady, and she said, hey, the direct casting agent from the MrBeast team would like to talk to you. So I hopped on a call with her, and then we did another call with someone else and with one of the creative directors there. And they were asking more questions, like what would you do with the money if you won, and why would you want to do this, and all of these, like type of psychological questions and mindset questions. And they're trying to figure out if you would be a good fit for this role. And the Beast team does a great job with casting. I mean, you guys saw in the video how well this thing was casted. It worked out really, really well. So I did that. And then at the end of the call, they were like, if we decide to go on to the next round of casting, it's not a guarantee you're going to be selected for the video, but if we do want to go on to the next round of casting, you have to give us an answer by tomorrow. Now, this is like the third week in February. And they also said that you would probably be leaving the next week if you do end up doing this. This is a tight turnaround. And they also at this point said that you'd be gone for 100 days, but they're still not saying it's prison related. And they're not saying how many people are going to be in this video. And at this point, keep in mind, I have never watched a MrBeast video actually in general. I knew who MrBeast was, but I had never watched any of his videos, let alone a 100-day video. So the first thing I did, because the most important thing for me after I got off this call was, did I have enough podcast episodes to put out while I was gone? Because for those of you who do follow my show, I release 5 episodes a week. If I left to go do a MrBeast show, no matter how big the opportunity was, I couldn't just trash everything I built from the prior years. I mean, MrBeast is such a big opportunity, but it's a quick-lived thing. You have to do more than just one MrBeast video to, make it in life and whatnot. And I already had this following, and I had advertisers, and I couldn't just dump the podcast. Too many people were depending on me. And also, my whole schedule was booked through the summer, months in advance. So the two things I thought about were, one, could we move everyone? Can we schedule them out? Like, could we push their schedule back? And two, do I have enough episodes currently in the tank? Because I had been working like a dog, sometimes shooting 2 or 3 episodes a day, traveling a lot, and building up episodes. And so what I did was I put all the episodes I had into a spreadsheet and kind of lined it up with the dates and everything. And I had about 70 episodes. And so basically I had enough to keep putting out 5 a week for March and April. And then if I went down to like 3 a week in May, and then in June when I would get back, start recording right away, I would have enough to do this. And so I told the casting team and the creative director, I'm in. If you guys want me, I'm in. I can do this. And they were like, "Are you sure?" I was like, "Yeah." After that, a couple days later, they had me talk to a psychologist to go through that test. And then after that, you're on to the final round, which is meeting with one of the assistant directors who do like the final screening. And I met with him. And after that, it was kind of silence. This was a Wednesday now. And the Thursday, this is February 27th, I think it was. It was, a Thursday. I was doing an interview in this very room, and I got out, and I had a couple missed calls from the Beast team and a text, and it was like, "Hey, I want you to know you got casted in it. You're in." And I hopped on the phone. They were like, "Can you be here tomorrow?" And I was like, "Well, I can't be here tomorrow because I need to edit all these episodes. I have to edit 70 episodes." And saying it out loud before I committed to it sounded way easier than what I expected it to be. And I'll tell you guys all about that in a second. But I was like, "Okay, great. Can I have till Saturday?" So they said yes. They booked my plane tickets for Saturday. And starting Thursday, it was grind time. The first thing I did was I called my brother, who runs kind of like my schedule, and he started rescheduling everyone for the next few months. I set up everything on my bank account for auto pay. I told all, partners, advertisers, and everything that I was going to be away. The day before, I had just moved in to a new apartment with my best friend, Matt, who was moving in with me. So at least I got out of my old one, and that was all situated. And then that night, me, my good friend Mike Squires, who was actually in the video in the America suit. I don't know if you guys saw it on day 50 and day 100. And by the way, guys, if you haven't seen the MrBeast 100-day video with me in it, the cop versus criminal challenge, you have to go watch it. Otherwise, this whole episode will not make sense to you. So definitely go check that out. But anyways, he was in that, and he was the videographer for the club who actually convinced me to quit my job to start making content. So life kind of came full circle that he was with me grinding. Basically, me, him, and my best friend Matt that works with me now full time were editing these videos all night for 48 hours straight. Basically, the first night we started editing videos, we got like 15 done. We stayed up till 4 a.m. after we got the call. And that was Thursday night into Friday. Got a few hours of sleep. And we were only 15 episodes in, and it took us that long. We're like, wow, we got our work cut out for us. Then Friday, I actually recorded an episode with someone that I promised I would do their show. So they came to the studio. I recorded their episode. I even had a dentist appointment that day that I took care of too. And then the rest of the day from like 3 p.m. on Friday all the way until 6 a.m. when the Uber picked me up to bring me to the airport in New York City, I was up all night editing videos. We were right down to the wire, editing, putting them together, coming up with the captions, the descriptions, the thumbnails, uploading them to YouTube. Matt was running between our apartment down the road and then my parents' house down the road to use their Wi-Fi. It was a lot. Like, this is hours and hours and hours of footage being uploaded, being edited, making sure all the ducks are in a row, on top of coordinating everything else we had to figure out. Then it was like 5:40. The Uber was almost there. I ran across to my apartment, packed up my bags. I just started throwing everything I could. The Beast team said, "Hey, have enough clothes for like a week." So I threw like 2 suitcases worth of stuff, clothes, sneakers, shorts, a bathing suit, just like anything, a bunch of hygiene items. I sent Matt out to go get me 3 months worth of vitamins, just like everything I could have possibly needed. And I gave him my phone because I'd gotten a new phone earlier that day that I would use to just stay in touch with like my family and the Beast team to let them know I was coming. But like my whole business, my whole life, like my bank account, my social media, everything was getting passed on to Matt because he was going to be in charge of running everything, because that was the other thing. Editing all the episodes was one thing, but then he still had to make all the clips while I was gone, put them out, and he had to run my socials as if I was never gone. Because for the 2.5 years prior to this, I had never missed a post on social media. Consistency is so important. I was posting every single day, and I used to run all my social media, respond to every comment. So I trusted him with my whole entire life to see this through, to make sure everything was running good. And that was a huge concern of mine in the video because I had no communication with him whatsoever. I had no idea how my business was doing, how the videos were doing. If you're a content creator, you're always looking at your analytics. You're looking at everything that's going on. And you're responding to comments, everything. So I trusted him with all of that. And obviously he did a great job, and we'll get into that later on in this. But that was kind of my fear. So I passed everything to him, and I flew to North Carolina. I got there Saturday afternoon. Jimmy's studio, MrBeast's studios in Greenville. And at this, guys, at this point in time, I have no idea what this video is about. I don't know who I'm going to be filming with. The Beast team is so professional, so dialed in. They don't leak anything, nothing. I had no idea. And I get to the hotel. At this point, I'm up for 36 hours now. I'm exhausted. I'm dead. I order some Jersey Mike's, got a little Philly chicken cheesesteak, and just watched some TV. And then I passed out, went to bed, and slept all the way through to the next morning. And my last meal before going into this experience was some avocado toast and a smoothie. Now, had I known this was going to be a real prison challenge, I probably should have ordered some extra food and enjoyed life a little bit more before I left, but I really didn't know. I thought it was going to be about prison. And then the Beast team picked me up at the hotel and actually took me to the hangar where MrBeast was filming that 100-day jet video. That started filming the same day that our video started filming. That was his last upload that came out, or a month ago. They'll live in a private jet for 100 days and you win it. And I got to meet one of the directors there and talk to him and whatnot. But still, they're not telling you anything. I had no idea it's about prison. I have no idea I'm going to be with a cop, nothing. And we see Jimmy take off. I haven't met Jimmy yet. I haven't met MrBeast, but we see him up in the plane to shoot that intro. Then they drive me. It's me and one of the people on the Beast team. They drive me to MrBeast's main studio. They gave me a quick tour, and then they put a blindfold on me and brought me to this other area where it was the trailer. But I'm blindfolded. I can't see anything. They want to keep everything under wraps, and they walk me to this trailer. I have my own trailer, and I take the blindfold off once I get in the trailer, and I see on the table an orange jumpsuit, like a real prison orange jumpsuit, like you see us wearing in the video, handcuffs, shackles, underwear, socks, tank top, everything. So I'm like, okay, I know at this point now that this is a prison-themed video. It all makes sense now that this is a prison-themed video. But again, I don't know who I'm competing against. Is it hundreds of people? Is it one person? I don't know. Is it other inmates? What I thought, now I know you guys are probably thinking, all right, you must have had some type of thought. This is what I thought. I thought the video would be a criminal, multiple criminals, maybe having to survive with people that have never been to prison. It was never a thought in my mind that it would be a cop or a correctional officer or anything. I just figured people that have never been to a prison, because if you stick a bunch of people that have been to prison in there, I mean, what kind of challenge would it have been, right? And they also don't tell you the dollar amount. It's not like they said, hey, you're doing this video and the prize is $500,000. So I have no idea what the video is about going into this, and I have no idea what the prize money is. Nothing. So I'm in the trailer. I sit there for a couple hours. There's a bunch of snacks, drinks, water, soda. MrBeast does a great job with hospitality for his contestants, for his team, for everything. It's really cool. And then finally, some of the production team came in, and they're all dressed as prison guards. So this is the cool thing about MrBeast Productions, is that he has all the crew really dialed into whatever the theme of the show is. So like when they were filming The Hangar, that was for the jet. They were all in like uniforms that resembled like working for an airline. For the gym set with Maj, where we could actually see the gym and shout to him, which you guys saw in his video if you watched his 100-day weight or 6-month weight loss journey. We would shout to him across the field when we had our rec time. But everyone is wearing outfits that kind of resemble it. So when Jimmy would come and visit us, he would always have like a warden type outfit, like a jacket and pants, and people would have the guard outfits on, the walkie-talkies and everything. So the production team walks in, they blindfold me again, and then they handcuff me, shackle me. I'm in my orange jumpsuit now, and then I go into a a cart, like a golf cart, or after they'd take me in a car, drive to a location, which I didn't know was like this big field where the prison was built. The prison was directly across from the trailer. I had no idea about any of this. I would learn that after. But they put me in the car, drive a couple minutes, and then I'm moved into a golf cart or a 4x4, whatever it was. And they said to us, this is the first time we heard someone talk. They said, hey, just so you know, you guys are both here right now. Don't say anything to each other. I don't know who the other person is. I just know that I'm in this cart with someone else. And I heard him say, okay. And I thought it sounded like he was like an old white guy. He was like in a deeper voice. I had no idea. So there's a lot of waiting around on filming day. We're waiting for the shots to get lined up, everyone to get in position, MrBeast to get there, and then they take us outside of the van because they had a real like prison van they made. After we were in the 4x4, we got moved to a van, and then from the van they had us outside the prison, and we're blindfolded. No idea what this prison looks like at this point. I have no idea it's even a prison, and they're just saying, hey, walk forward, because they're filming the intro, and you hear for the first time, the first things I heard directly to us were from MrBeast, and he was saying how he built a maximum security prison. So that was the very first reality of, okay, this is a prison. Aside from the clothes and everything, this really affirmed it. And then he talks about in his intro about how that you have 100 days to live with a cop. A cop and a criminal have to live together. And that was the very first time I knew I was going to be living with a cop. Now, I have no problem with law enforcement at all. I interviewed law enforcement, so to me, living with a cop was no big deal. I was thinking in my head, is he going to have a problem living with me? Now, we're in that room, just like you guys see on screen. The first time I'm meeting Lenny was when those blindfolds came off, when the shackles came off, the blindfolds came off, and there I saw Lenny. I didn't have like an opinion of him. He looked like a nice guy. He was definitely muscular, and, I didn't judge him or anything. He was, I guess maybe if anything, like a little intimidating, I guess. I don't know. He was very serious. He didn't laugh or anything. He was just very serious. I'll say that. It was a serious face. And it's awkward, I guess, meeting someone for the first time that you're about to stay 100 days with. I will say, though, upon the blindfold coming off and seeing the space, I was so glad that we had a big open space. I mean, it was small, but it was big at the same time. I was so scared that this was going to be a little like solitary type cell that we would have had to live in. But then also a part of me was like, that wouldn't be feasible because one, they couldn't film if there was a toilet in the cell and there would be no content. Like it's also for content. That's the purpose of this video. So I was excited that it was a bigger room. Wasn't excited necessarily that we were back on bunk beds, and I kind of had a feeling I would be on the top bunk because like in prison, youngest normally goes on top, so it was the right thing to do. And also keep in mind, it was in March now. It's March 1st or 2nd, so it's cold. It was definitely cold in there, even though there was heaters and stuff, and you could see us kind of wrapped up in our blankets and stuff in some of the shots in the video. But I was excited that it was a bigger space. And Lenny and I, just as you guys see in the video, like we talked a lot. We had good conversation. We were getting to know each other. But let me tell you something. Those first 10 days were brutal. Absolutely brutal. I think I wanted to quit probably a solid 10 times within the first few days. And let me tell you the reason why. Because in real prison, and this is what I always argued with Warden Jimmy about, I called him Warden Jimmy throughout the video. In real prison, there was so much more to do. You had books. Even if you were in solitary, you had books. So you had books. There was TVs. There was email for your to contact your parents. You could write letters. There was the phone. We had none of that. Literally, all we had was me and Lenny. And we didn't come up with creating ideas until like day 3 when we made the chess set or took the bunk beds apart to do pull-ups and work out and stuff. But either way, you can only do that for so many hours. There was nothing to do. It was just an empty room. So that was definitely so challenging. I mean, I look at it as my first prison experience. It was, and this is something that was made it challenging throughout this whole video because my first prison experience, it was a break. It was a breath of fresh air to be in prison, to get away from how terrible my life was at the time. I mean, I was overweight. People were after me for money. Life just sucked, like I was in a really bad spot. But now this prison experience, doing the Beast Challenge, it was so hard because I had built this amazing life with the podcast and social media and friends and family, and I was living a good life, so it was hard to be away from that. And I love to work. I love to, create. I think I compare it to, like, would MrBeast be able to do 100 days in this type of environment with no phone, no social media, nothing? It's challenging. It's really hard to do, to be away from all of that and not talk to your friends or not talk to your family or just be away from that life you've created. Whereas I think it was a lot easier for Lenny because this was his first break from reality. He got to be away from his friends. He got to be away from his family, and it was a nice break. It was some nice time apart. This was his reset period where I already had mine years before. The other thing that was interesting to see was the money. Let's talk about the money. It was definitely exciting to see that there was $500,000 at stake. I will say that my mindset in the beginning was I want to leave with $250,000 and we're not going to spend any money. And you guys see that change quickly throughout the video. I mean, day 10, we spend money for the rec yard, and we spend money throughout the video. And I realized, like, you could go into a 100-day challenge, a MrBeast 100-day challenge, and you think, okay, you could do the whole 100 days. It sounds so easy on paper. It's only 3 months. I'm just not going to spend anything. But then when you're in there, you realize, wow, 100 days is actually a really, really long time. And you kind of need to spend money to give you things to do. I look back on it now. If we didn't spend $1 during this whole challenge, it would have been a way more miserable time than what it already was. Now, when I say miserable, it has nothing to do with the MrBeast team or MrBeast. They were all great. It was a great experience working with them. I just mean it like the environment sucked, like being back in prison as someone that was in prison before. But from a production standpoint, they definitely made it a challenge. I would say this was one of his hardest challenges ever done, given the lack of things to do and also the fact that, like, everything we bought, we could only use for an hour. Like in other videos, when MrBeast sells someone something for a good amount of money, normally they get to keep it all day. Like in the trapped room, if they bought the TV, they had access to it all day. Or, Armando in the plane, he got DoorDash every day. Us, when we bought the rec yard for $50,000, we only got to use it for an hour a day. And if it was raining, we didn't even go outside. I did go out there one day, though, and I made a poncho out of a garbage bag because it was pouring, and I wanted to get outside. But that was the thing. It sucked, So you would spend money, and you could only use it for a limited time, and that's why we end up turning down the TV later on in day 60, as you guys could see, because it just wasn't worth it for the hour. Other thing before we move on is the food. I want to tell you guys about the food in MrBeast's prison. So the first night we get there, we got in like late afternoon, like 3 o'clock, and dinner came at 8 o'clock. Now, at first, we had no sense of time. Later on, like a few days later, we were able to tell time by the vlog cameras. We figured out that the vlog cameras that we were using to record on had time on it, so we figured it out by that way. But the first couple days, we had no sense of time. But then once we figured out what time food would come. Anyways, first meal comes 8 p.m. We look at it. I was so curious what the food was going to be like. Is it going to be like prison? Are they going to copy the menus? Because if you look at like prison lunch menus online, you could see how they serve it. Thursdays were chicken days. Wednesdays were burger days. Fridays were pizza, things like that, different meals. So the first meal we get there is sausage and peppers with rice, beans, applesauce. Listen, guys, we got applesauce every single meal. And if we got 2 trays, because they would give us seconds if we asked for it, the applesauce would pile up. So that's why Lenny was doing a countdown with applesauce every day. And we, at one point, I think we had like 600 applesauces in that cell. We would throw them at each other. We had an applesauce fight, a ketchup packet fight. We would do different things with the applesauce. I went bowling with the applesauce one day. We would offer it when Jimmy would bring like other influencers by or guests or whatever. And everyone's like, why do you have this much applesauce? But yeah, we would get it with every meal. Anyways, we're served this meal, and the other thing was we only ever got water. For 100 days, it was just water. So there was no milk, there was no juice. It wasn't like real prison where you got those options, and no dessert, except for the applesauce, if you want to count the applesauce. So anyways, sausage and peppers. Let me tell you something. That meal was really good. Like, it was good. I enjoyed it. I loved it, and it tasted good. And me and Lenny are looking at each other like, we get used to this. I'm excited for what breakfast is going to be. First night happens. You guys see in the video that Lenny was a huge snorer until he started losing weight, so that sucked. Living in a big echoey room like that with someone that snored, I was ready to quit after the first couple nights because of how bad he snored. It was not fun. That's why I moved my bed, which is funny. You see it like I take my mattress off and put it in the corner of the room on the other end of the cell. Not that really did anything, but anyways, breakfast comes. And I was never really a big breakfast guy, even in real prison. I would always give my tray to my cellmate, or I just wouldn't go to the chow hall to get breakfast when I was in general population, not in solitary. And so breakfast comes, and it's like corned beef hash, eggs. I think we had some bacon. It was a good tray, good spread, and it was good. I enjoyed it. I never really had corned beef hash before, and it was another good meal. And just like in real prison, like when you're in solitary and stuff, you kind of try to get through your days by your meals. Like as soon as Lenny and I got to lunch, because lunch was at 2 o'clock, so at 8 a.m. was breakfast, and then lunch was at 2, we'd be like, okay, the day's for the most part over. We have to just, stay up till 8 p.m. dinner and then in bed by like 8:30 or 9. I would always go to bed earlier. Lights were off at 10 in MrBeast's prison, and the day was kind of over. So breakfast happens, then we get to lunch. Our first lunch was crab cakes. And I was shocked. I was like, what kind of prison gives crab cakes? But 2 crab cakes, some veggies, and some rice. It was a good meal. I enjoyed it. And I was like, wow, okay, so we had 3 awesome meals. I wonder what dinner's going to be tonight. Guess what dinner was tonight, guys? Sausage and peppers again. What Lenny and I came to find out was that every 10 days, you would eat the same 3 meals every day, except for the first 20 days before we got offered the kitchen. It was the same 3 meals. So we ate sausage and peppers for dinner for 20 days straight. We ate corned beef and hash and the eggs and everything for breakfast for 20 days straight, and we ate crab cakes for 20 days straight. Imagine eating the same food every day for that long. Drives you crazy. Literally crazy. I did like the sausage and peppers, though, but it was getting to Lenny. He didn't want it, but we knew that his whole thing was they were going to offer us the kitchen or some type of kitchen or better food. I mean, a part of us did think, what's going to happen? What's going to happen if we have to go 100 days eating sausage and peppers, But then we're like, I don't think they're going to do that to us. I think they're going to offer us like Commissary or something prison-themed. And we were right on day 20, so going through, we did day 10, the rec yard, like you guys see in the video. Day 20 comes along, and Lenny and I, in between challenges, every challenge, we're always thinking, what is this next challenge going to be? What's going to happen? Are they going to pit us against each other? And we found out pretty quickly after day 10 that every challenge we were going to be pitted against each other, except for the rock challenge, obviously, where we actually got to work together. But for the most part, it was always me against him. So that happens. But we knew going into it, we decided we're not paying a ridiculous amount of money for the kitchen. We always had limits. Like maybe we'll pay $25,000 tops for the kitchen. And Lenny also knew I wanted to pay for the library if an option ever came. We figured, hey, Jimmy has to have some type of library option because it's prison. We're thinking, okay, phone calls, visits, commissary, food, library, rec, because that was the first one. It's got to be on brand, on theme. So day 20, the offer comes for the kitchen. Lenny got to make that decision on his own, and I fully support Lenny's decision in that it didn't make sense to trade the rec yard for that kitchen on day 20. If we traded it, first off, we only had 10 days with the rec yard, so that didn't make any sense to just give it up. We would have had to gone another 80 days without the rec yard, And that would have been the only time we got fresh air, outside time away from each other. And we used the crap out of that rec yard. Every time we went out there, we played basketball, we worked out. We really enjoyed it. It was really good, that fresh air. And we picked it at the perfect time. We picked it at 5 p.m., so it kind of broke up the day. Play chess after lunch for a couple hours, and then, hit rec yard, and then you got a couple hours till dinner, and you'd shower in between there and stuff. But it was the right decision to not pass up that food. And then what we found are to pass up the food so we could keep the rec yard. And Jimmy was definitely surprised. He thought because we were complaining every day about eating the same food. We wanted to switch. We need something different. We would sit up at night, late at night. Lenny and I would always talk about what we would want to eat, what we would go for, everything like that. I was craving peanut butter the whole time, just all of these things. And I finally got my peanut butter when we bought those Feastables, on day 40. Anyways, that happens, and little did we know, on day 21 the menu changed, and that's when we figured out that every 10 days after that the food would change. So that was the food situation. One menu rotation, we had burgers, we had chicken, we had stuff that you would find in prison, but it also could have been maybe a little bit more prison-y, I guess, but for the purpose of the challenge, it made sense. It's not supposed to be easy. They want to kind of drain you out. They want to have you. It's a psychological test more than anything. So that was the situation with the food on this whole thing. Next up, day 30, the library. When Jimmy gave us that challenge, Lenny and I devised the plan to kind of trick Warren Jimmy, and we were like fake beefing during that challenge. When Jimmy gave us the offer and left, I had passed actually Lenny a note saying, hey, I'll take the books, but I'll smuggle you out books. Little did I know at the time that these books were going to cause me huge issues between not getting a visit and going to solitary. I never would have stole the books had I known all of these things. But we devised that plan. We have fake beef, and we kind of punk out Jimmy, and I get the library. And that very first night I had access to the library, I started stealing the books. I stole Lenny the Bible, and that kind of like really solidified Lenny and I's bond, that I got him the Bible, and then I started stealing my books that I would read. And the books really helped get me through the challenge. My logic was, let me pick the 6 a.m. slot. I would actually wake up at 6 a.m. and I'd go to the library at 6:30, from 6:30 to 7:30, because there was only one guard working at night for the overnight shift until the new guards came in at 8 a.m. So that would be my time where I would just stuff my pants and pockets and everything with all the books to smuggle out of there to read. Because, guys, let's be honest. 1 hour a day for the library is ridiculous. That didn't do anything, and there was a computer in there that only had Wikipedia. That was the only thing we could do, Wikipedia. So as I read so many books, and you guys see on day 90, we actually pulled that computer out when I smuggled it out, and we would watch, we were just typing stuff on Wikipedia the whole time in it. But anyways, day 30, the books really helped me get through it. I was literally reading a book a day. I got to read the Lord of the Rings series, which I've always wanted to read. I'm a big Lord of the Rings fan, big Harry Potter fan, as you guys see. Like I have like the Deathly Hallows symbol there. I read that, read a lot of, what else was there? John Grisham, Robert Pattinson, a lot of books. It was like a real prison library. They had all these books, and then you guys saw I was ripping out photos to put on all the walls to kind of like be artistic. I found some coloring books to color with like the pen and everything like that. So it's upsetting that, on day 50, the books would cause me the issues about not seeing my family, which we'll talk about in a second, but I'm so glad I got access to those books. And I don't know how I survived the first 30 days without a book. Even in solitary and real prison, I was reading a book, sometimes 2 books a day in solitary, because that's all you could do. You only get rec 1 hour a day, 5 days a week. You get a phone call once a month and letters. You could send out letters, but all you could do is read, basically, or talk to your bunkmate. So that happened. Then we get to day 40, which was Commissary. And now keep in mind, 40 days in there, no phone call to family, No outside communication, nothing. The guards, you can ask guards for info. They won't give you anything. Nothing. It's very tight-lipped. It's the real deal. If anyone thinks MrBeast's videos are staged, they're not. I'll tell you that straight up. That was a hard challenge. And I continued to almost quit so many times. It was hard. I was thinking about my social media, my podcast, my business, my family, my dog, everything. You know, I was homesick. This was tough. It was harder than real prison. It was so hard. And Lenny, like, I went into it thinking, and the couple friends that I had told her, like, hey, you really got to convince whoever you're with to stay. Little did I know, I was the one that was having the hard time the whole time. And I bet you my friends and family were out there thinking, oh, Ian went to prison. He did 3 years. He's got it in the bag. Guys, I'll be honest. You know, I'm not afraid to say it. I was the one struggling. Lenny had the easy time, and Lenny was keeping me in the game. I was suffering, okay? And hey, listen, I admitted I paid for protection in prison, so I can admit now I was suffering in a MrBeast video. So props to MrBeast for making the hardest prison I've ever been in. Day 40 comes around, Commissary. Prices were a little crazy. I mean, the options, like Jimmy tried to get us to pay $10,000 for goldfish that say Lenny Jr. and Ian Jr. There was one wall ball for $10,000. The clippers, because I'd been asking for a haircut. My hair was super bushy in the beginning of that video. I should have got a haircut before I went in there, but I didn't. So it was getting really bushy, and it was starting to get hot out because it was April at that point. And I wanted to trim up. I wanted to keep growing the beard, though. And we kept talking about it like every day. We were like, hey, could we get the haircut? And our joke was, I want to get the Michael Scofield because of Prison Break. I had just watched Prison Break for the first time a few months before. So I'd always be like, let me get the Scofield. And Lenny would cut it for me. That was like our running joke. And so I buy the clippers, of course. I bought some other things. And I knew Lenny was going to have a problem with how much money I spent. But luckily, it all worked out. He ended up using all the stuff I bought. He got to write letters. I got to send a letter. And I thought, you know, we were going to get letters back. Didn't get any letters back, but at least I got to send a letter out to my family, and they got that. But we got no letters back, which kind of sucked. But at least Lenny got to send a birthday card, a Mother's Day card to his mom. I got to send letters out. So that kind of helped pass the time, and we had new things to do. I had the paper. I made like 1,000 paper airplanes over the course of a couple days, and I was just flinging them in the room. Jimmy walked in one day, and there was just like a giant pile of paper airplanes. So that helped pass the time, and we had journals. I did a ton of journaling. I'll share with you guys, like, on my social media in the coming weeks, kind of some of my journal entries, and that's how we kept track of dates. Lenny and I in our journals each made our own calendar where we'd cross off the days, counted special events, recorded when Jimmy would come on those days, and I was counting down to my 30th birthday because I was spending my 30th birthday in there, and that was 9 days before day 100. And then obviously the countdown to when we're leaving. That's what, you know, it's a lot like real prison. You're counting down your release date. But except in real prison, you know, you're counting down 3 years. This is 100 days, but it seems so long. It's interesting, that time kind of perspective. Then comes day 50. Those first 50 days felt like a long time. I would say the last 50 days definitely went by faster than the first 50 days. But day 50 comes, and, you know, I had watched a couple MrBeast videos the night before I came into this just to kind of get a feel of what this was going to be like. Lenny had watched a ton. So throughout the whole thing, he was giving me advice on like what they did in the trapped one, what they did in the bunker, all of these things. And actually, when I got out, I watched Bunker in full and I watched Trapped in full, which was funny to see kind of how they played the game. But he's like, listen, normally about halfway through, they get the offer for the visit, like in the wild one and all of these things. So Lenny was convinced there was a visit. I was kind of in denial because I kind of figured either A, we were going to pay a lot of money for a visit, and I was not paying money for a visit. I wasn't going to pay like 50 or 60 grand. I thought that would be crazy. And Jimmy had been dogging us, which would be my, you know, the funny word. I said dog like 1,000 times the last 50 days of the video. But everything was just expensive, you know, rec yard, 50 grand. Kitchen was basically 50 grand because we had to give up that, the rec yard if we took it. Commissary, those items and everything like that. So I figured it would be expensive if we got a visit. We had no idea it was going to be a visit. Lenny thought it would be. And Warren Jimmy comes in and he shows us that video of me stealing the books, and my heart sank because I knew this was going to be a difficult challenge. And then he says, your families are outside. And, you know, I knew the only option was when he said only one of you could get a visit. The right option was Lenny. I wasn't going to deny his kids from seeing their dad. He had kids. He had a wife that were there. Imagine if I said, I'm going to take my visit, and Lenny's kids had to go home alone, fly all the way back with the mom, his wife, without seeing him. That would have been heartbreaking, you know? I would have felt like a bad guy. And also, it was such a cool experience for them to meet Mr. Beast, be in the Mr. Beast video, come and see them and everything. And Lenny's a huge family guy and wanted to see his family, really missed them. So I had no problem giving him that visit. But I will say, going in solitary for those few hours sucked. Absolutely sucked. Let me get a sip of water. It was terrible. It was worse than real solitaire because it was smaller. It was about half the size of real solitaire. I think from wall to wall, I could probably stretch out and spread my legs, but that's it. I don't even think I could have done a push-up. But it was smaller. There was no books. There was nothing. I was just locked in there. If I had to go to the bathroom, if I had to take a poop or something, I had to use like one of those plastic camping ones, which I would do on day 99, but we'll get there. So it sucked. But when I came out, Lenny and I kind of like had fake beef. Just like what we did on day 30, I was pretending to be mad at him about the visit. Honestly, I was just mad about being in solitary, and I was mad at Warren Jimmy. Wasn't mad at Lenny. Lenny didn't do anything wrong with it. But after day 50, I got definitely into a really dark spot because I missed my family. I was so homesick. Like from day 50 to day 80, I was struggling so hard. It was really hard getting through that. There was days I didn't even talk to Lenny, didn't make content. I was really just debating about quitting. And the only thing that really got me through, it's like, one, I'm not a quitter. And two, like I need this money because my goal doing this video, and I said this during the casting thing, which is probably one of the reasons why I got casted too, is I was going to take my winnings and pay off restitution. So as a part of my sentence, I had nearly a $500,000 restitution. Before I did the Mr. Beast video, I still owed $350,000. So I'd paid off a little over $100,000, close to $150,000 kind of. $30,000 of that was from the guy that testified against me that was an uncharged co-defendant or whatever. Kind of unfair how they did the whole restitution thing, whatever. But I had been paying it, and ever since my business and social media started to take off, I've been paying more. Last year I paid about $60,000, and this year I've obviously paid a lot more. But the goal was the restitution and the exposure that this Mr. Beast video could help my platform so I could finish paying off that restitution and grow this more. And even bigger than that, the message of, hey, this is someone that is getting a huge second chance. I mean, you guys know people that went to prison are always the underdogs. They're the ones that are outcasts. It's hard, you know? So if I can make it through this and work with, you know, the biggest YouTuber in the world, and you know, Jimmy has the power through this video to change the narrative and give people a second chance and give hope and to really show insight of how, you know, there's so many people that have a criminal record that just made a mistake. Like my situation, I made a mistake at a young age and I shouldn't be labeled as a felon or as a criminal for the rest of my life. There should be second chances. There should be opportunity. And that's what my whole platform's about. So I really do give Jimmy, Mr. Beast, a ton of credit for taking on this role because it is a hot topic, but it's also a sour topic. It's not something that people kind of take kindness to all the time. And I think that's why this video is so powerful because it really shows the evolution of it. And I think people will think of people with a criminal record so much differently after this video once they see this. So the restitution was a huge driving factor for me. So that's why I didn't quit either. And it's also like, okay, it's day 70. How can I quit? You know, there's 30 days left. I'm going to walk away with that. I will say, because I knew in some of Jimmy's other videos, he'd do like an early buyout offer. Like in the bunker video, he offered one of the contestants money to leave early. If he had done that, I probably would have taken it because that's how miserable I was. I wanted to go home. I wanted to get back to life. I wanted to get back to my routine. But he didn't do that. So I had to go the whole 100 days. But yeah, so day 60 was the TV. I thought that was the worst challenge. It didn't make sense for just an hour a day. Lenny and I totally would have bought it if it was more than an hour. I mean, he had Titanic on the cart. It would have taken us like a week to watch Titanic. It was just a bad offer. And then day 70, we didn't see Jimmy because he was out shooting another video. So we had a lot of time alone. And I will say this was a great time to reflect. I did a ton of journaling, a lot of reflecting on myself, just like I did in prison the first time. And I was so happy to get back into reading and reading a bunch of self-help books and stuff because I'll be honest, from the time I left prison to doing this MrBeast video, I didn't read. I stopped reading because life just catches up with you. And even now, finishing the MrBeast video, I told myself I want to journal, I want to read, and it's still a struggle to find time to do that, but I'm pushing forward, I'm journaling or whatever. But this was the first time in my life I really got to write down all my goals and my plans. And I did that in prison the first time, but nothing like this because I've got to taste success. So I did a lot of journaling and I did a lot of working on myself in those days. And, one of the coolest things that happened to me was that Lenny and I talked a lot about relationships throughout this video, and he had a family and a wife and kids, and I didn't have any of that. And, I would always say to him, I really, I want to find my person. I want to find a girl that I want to marry and have kids with and everything. And I wrote in my journal, like traits I would look for in a woman and what I wanted in life. And, that I didn't want to go out on dating apps again. I didn't want to do all these things, that I just wanted to meet someone organically. And, guys, that happened, like a couple weeks after I got back. I know I'm skipping ahead, but I just want to tell you this story because it's super important to me. I did get to meet someone, not on a dating app, in the most unexpected way possible. And I've been hanging out with this girl, she's my girlfriend now, for 2 months now, and, head over heels in love with this woman. And I promise you, this is the girl that I marry and have kids with and have a family with. And I just absolutely adore this girl. And it just feels so good and so right. And I'm just so grateful for her. And I'm really in a good spot mentally. And she receives all the love I give her, and I'm able to receive the love she gives me. And it's just interesting to see that the manifestation happened there, and that was something that was such a big internal thought throughout the video, that to see it to come through in life. And it's just a reoccurring theme in my life, that life comes full circle and everything happens at the time it's supposed to happen. And I'm just so grateful for that. I'm grateful for this experience. I'm grateful for her. I'm grateful for everything that I've been able to build since I got out of prison, everything that's going to come in the future. But this is the first time I'm really sharing that with my audience about, being in this relationship and what's going on here and stuff. So that's a little side element for you guys all to see. Day 70, like I said, nothing really happened. Then day 80 comes The Rock. So something that wasn't in the video, or at least when I got to see the rough cut wasn't in, maybe it got added in, but probably didn't, was that every day Jimmy would come in, I would beg him for one phone call because I was like, hey, this is prison. I should at least be able to get a phone call. In real prison, you got a phone call. And we had done everything else prison-themed, visits, commissary, kitchen, rec yard. Everything was prison-themed. What about a phone call? So Jimmy actually gave me an early birthday present because my birthday was 10 days after that. And he gave me a FaceTime with my dad, and my mom happened to be in the car. So Lenny went 50 days without seeing his family and stuff. I went 80 days. And I got a phone call with my dad, and it was actually really funny scene. It would be cool if Jimmy played it. My dad was like telling MrBeast he was still mad at him for not getting his visit. Because remember, on day 50, they came all the way out from Connecticut. My dad and my two best friends came out to see me, and they didn't get to see me. Imagine traveling there where you haven't had any contact with your family member or your loved one for that long and being told, oh, you can't see them. That actually happened to my dad when he visited me in prison the first time, because he was wearing like cargo pants or something. So they made him go to the store and he had to buy jeans and stuff because they're strict on all that. But, something I didn't think about, or I did think about during the video, but I think a lot of people don't think about was that it could also be very traumatizing for my parents, their child back in prison, not being able to talk to them. It was hard for them. My dad is my best friend. He would come to the studio every single day. So it was really hard for me to be away for that long, not being in touch with me for that long, and just not being in communication. I'm sure it really felt, and him not knowing how I was doing or anything, it probably felt very similar to me being in prison the first time. But yeah, Jimmy is a good guy, guys. He gave me the phone call after I said how he dogged me all those times. I did get that phone call. It was a quick phone call, but it was just like a hi, hello, how's everything going? And I got to hear that my podcast was going well, that Matty Ice, who we gave him the name Matty Ice, Matt, who is my best friend that works with me. Lenny started calling him Matty Ice in the video, and now it's stuck with him. Was doing a great job running my social media. And everything was good. So that gave me peace. I think if I didn't get that phone call those last 20 days, I probably would have been gone, even though that would have been crazy. Imagine quitting on I would probably be the only MrBeast contestant to quit on a 100-day challenge right at that end mark. But I didn't, so it's all good. But I'm glad I got that phone call. We did the rock challenge. The video kind of makes it look like I wasn't really doing much with the rock, and that Lenny was doing all the work and I was negative. Don't get me wrong. I was negative as shit about that rock. Didn't think we were getting through it. I thought it was crazy, but I still showed up and helped and worked every hour. I did not sit anything out. I got cut up. I got bruised, shrapnel on me. I had a giant blister on my thumb, but I was out there, rain or shine, working on that rock with Lenny. And it was actually so cool that final day when we broke through it. Lenny actually gave me the chain that was on. I have it hanging in my office. And I went up to Warren Jimmy. I was like, Jimmy, every time you look at me wearing this chain, I want you to know that I got you for $100,000. So Lenny gave me that as a gift, which was a really cool memento to have. And we each took a piece of the rock home with us too. And it was also when Jimmy was doing that thug challenge or whatever. So we actually posed with Jimmy in there with the chain on and stuff, which was funny. So that happens. Day 80 happens. Then day 90, my birthday's day 91, my big 30th. Day 90 happens. We're thinking Jimmy's going to do something big. Turns out he dogged us again. He did let us play. I got to play chess with him on day 90, which was pretty cool. And Jimmy whooped me in chess. And we did play basketball with him at one time too. And he's a beast at basketball. Beat me on basketball too. Beat me and Lenny because we would do 2-on-2 with him and the boys too. He's really good. But anyways, day 90 happens and it was uneventful. As you guys saw what he did to us all the way through. Last 9 days there, day 99 happens. Well, my birthday happens. I turned 30. I got a Feastable bar from one of the guards, snuck me one on my birthday. Don't tell Warren Jimmy you snuck me that Feastable. And Feastables are great, by the way. I have them stocked in my studio. I don't get paid to promote them. They are the best candy bar I've ever had in my life. That was also one of the reasons why, going back to day 40 for a second, why I spent all that money, because with every purchase, we got a box of Feastables. I've never seen peanut butter cups where it's actually creamy like peanut butter. Lenny and I, on some days when we were sick of the food, we would take the peanut butter out of the peanut butter cup and make a sandwich, like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, when they would get jelly some days with a breakfast item. So it's good. We have it stocked in the studio. I tell all my guests about it. I love Feastables. Great candy bar. Way better than Hershey's. Anyways, day 99 happens. And Lenny, I got to give Lenny credit. He was like, dude, because there was 2 solitaries. We saw that there was 2 solitaries built out. I had experienced the first one. The one at the other end of the hall hadn't been used yet. And that was the only room not used in this building. Lenny's like, dude, I think they're going to put us in solitary for that last day. I'm like, no way. Lenny actually originally thought it would be like, all right, survive solitary, get an extra $10,000 a day or something, like another way to make money. I was not doing that. I kept saying, listen, I spent 4 hours in there and it was miserable. You couldn't pay me enough. You couldn't pay me $1 million to go back in solitary, especially in Warren Jimmy's prison. What do you know? Warren Jimmy comes on day 99 at the 24 hours left of this challenge, throws us in solitary, and gives us that crazy offer that if one of us leaves early, you'd get all the money. Obviously, guys, I thought about it. who wouldn't think about it? You know, that's all the rest of my restitution money right there. I knew like halfway through this challenge that I wasn't going to have enough to pay off all the restitution, because even if I walked away with $250,000, I owed $350,000, and then there's taxes and everything like that. So it wasn't feasible. And all throughout every challenge, I was always keeping notes of, okay, if I leave with this amount, I'll do boom, 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 pay this. That kind of kept me going too. Like it was something else to do to pass the time. Anyways, that happens. Thrown in commissary, in solitary, and Jimmy presents that offer. And yes, I did think about it, but I knew at heart I wasn't going to screw over Lenny. I'm not that type of person. My whole past, people losing money, was because I was young, I was immature, I was cocky, I was arrogant, I thought I had everything figured out, I didn't ask for advice, and I made every mistake you can make, and I lied about things. I lied about mistakes, and I just messed up, and I take accountability for that. But I promise you, it was never because I had ill intent to hurt anyone. I was raised by a good family. I have good character and a good heart. And I would never, ever purposely, intentionally steal from someone. And yeah, people lost money because of my actions. But I think beyond that, my actions now show what my true heart is. There is so many people in this world, people I interview, that owe hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars in restitution, and they will never pay that money back. They will pay $50 a month. They will pay the lowest amount possible and skirt that restitution. And I will tell you straight to your face, I am not one of those people. And for the past, over a year and a half, I was paying $1,000 a month, and now I'm, paying more through the MrBeast money and everything like that. And I'll tell you more about that in a second. So I knew I was not going to screw him over like that. I couldn't do that to him, no matter if it benefited my cause or not. I wasn't going to do that. I went into this challenge, and one of the biggest things that kept me there were I wanted to change the narrative around people that went to prison, around people that were in my shoes, people that have made mistakes. That would just hurt everything I survived those 100 days for. And I also knew Lenny wasn't going to do that to me because he was just not that type of person. He's a good man. He wasn't going to do that. But those 24 hours sucked. I did not sleep a wink. I actually ended up staying 48 hours from that day, day 99, all the way to the day out, because we went out to the bar that night when we got out. And I was a little drunk, and I got back home or to the hotel, and it was like 2 a.m. I thought I was going to pass out, but I was so adrenaline filled that I ended up just working all night. I was on my phone, on my computer, booking guests, catching up on comments, doing accounting, everything like this, planning my schedule, and I was just so excited. So I almost stayed up for 72 hours by the time I got back and everything, because our flight got delayed on the way home. But those last 24 hours, and they were terrible. These crickets kept keeping me up all night in there. All night in this cell, these crickets were going off. Nuts. Literally nuts. These crickets were going crazy. Never seen anything like it. I'm like pouring water down into like the hole where where I thought I heard the crickets. So they were keeping me up. And then I got the runs. I had the worst stomach ache. They gave us like a little tent so the cameras couldn't see us using the toilet. And I had the runs. It was pitch black in there because they shut off the lights for nighttime. And I had the runs. And I had to call one of the guards, use our mic to call him to give him the garbage bag full of the poop. All right, too much information, I know, but it was just really funny. That was my whole night. And I kept looking at the countdown clock. Like, my initial plan was, okay, I could sleep for 12 of these hours. I was sleeping for a good amount of hours during the challenge. This is it now, but I couldn't sleep. I was so excited to leave. The adrenaline was good. And I was excited to know that if I left this room, there wasn't more to the challenge. It was just done after that. It was time to go home. Luckily, the 24 hours did fly by way faster than those 4 hours I did on day 50. It felt so much faster. There was AC in there. It was cool. Way better experience. And then, as you guys see in the video, exactly what happened. We went out, didn't know if the other person was there or not. Drapes fell down. Everything happens quick in those last seconds. From the curtains to, there's no starting and stopping. It's not scripted, guys. On challenge days, on check-in days, you don't shoot something and then Jimmy's like, all right, let's reshoot that. It's all organic. It's raw. It's in the moment. He is so real with that, Everything has to be legitimate. That's why there's no phone calls throughout the challenge except for that day 80 thing. there's no, like, we didn't have computers. Like, when I asked them when we were getting casted, I said, hey, can I have access to a computer? Like at night when we're not filming? And they're like, no, it's not part of the challenge. So things of that nature would happen. Wouldn't happen. He's so strict with that. Everything has to be real, legit, you know? It has to fit the theme of the video. And you got to give him credit for that, because I don't know anyone else that's doing it at his level. So yeah, it happens very quickly, and it was so good to see my dad, and my two best friends were there. My mom was supposed to come, but the flight got delayed. And it's such a surreal experience. When you think about it, I'm one of a very select few of individuals in this world that got to do a 100-day video with MrBeast. There's not that many of them. What is there? Maybe 8 of us, 10 of us that did 100 days. Because then there's other challenges and stuff. And for a guy like me, that's a YouTuber myself, granted a smaller one, but knowing that there's so many people in this world that would have killed for an opportunity like that, it just makes you really grateful. And I'm so grateful, and I'm so blessed, and I'm so lucky. And I'll forever be, in debt to MrBeast and the team there, and how good they treated us, and, just how good of a people they are. I'll always remember him for giving me that second opportunity, because Jimmy's one of the reasons why I got casted. He does the final approvals. If he didn't want me in the video, I wouldn't have been in the video. And so I ended up winning $240,000. Obviously, I paid taxes in advance, and I paid $150,000 to restitution. And it felt really good signing that check, writing the U.S. attorney, letting them know, because for the longest time they thought, I was probably skating the system, or I had no intentions of paying it. So let's talk numbers for a second. As of today, I'm down to $198,000. I think I'll have that paid off probably within the next year. Honestly, we'll see what happens with the Beast video and the exposure that gets. I'm working on a book about my story, working on some TV stuff. But I have full intentions to pay off the rest of that money. I said on day one that everyone was going to get their money back, and that is something I am holding on to. I'm not going to stop until it's all paid back. And it's going to be paid back very soon. And I think it's so cool how life has come full circle. Like, when you think about it for a second, I went to prison the first time, and that was something that was supposed to destroy me, take away my dignity, make you feel like a failure, and the world makes you think you're a failure for going through that, right? And I remember all the negative articles about me, and people I went to school with, and people that I used to be close with, bashing me for going to prison. And then, if you fast forward all these years later, and I build a brand and a company off of going to prison, and then I had the opportunity to go back to prison and relive all of that trauma and pain, but only this time it was for a good cause. It was to help fix the situation that got me into prison in the first place. And if that isn't life coming full circle, I don't know what is. So there you have it, guys. That is my perspective. That's what happened during the MrBeast video. I hope you guys enjoyed that video. I respond to all my messages, so DM me, comment. We're going to be responding to comments all the time. If you want to come on the show, you go to my website, ianbick.com. If you have a story to tell related to the criminal justice world. My show's all about having normal people on, as you guys know. And all the listeners have locked in. I appreciate you guys. I really do. I wouldn't be here without you. And I'm really trying hard to, pick good quality episodes for you guys, do more longer ones, be really dialed in and put out the best quality content possible. I see all your guys' comments. I know the feedback you give me, and I pay attention to that. And you're going to be seeing more and more progress each and every episode. So, guys, thank you for being on this journey with me. It really means the world. And I hope you enjoy the MrBeast video. If you haven't seen it yet, well, I hope you haven't finished this whole thing without seeing it yet. But if you haven't seen it yet, go watch it. Show some love. Subscribe to my Instagram. Follow it. Bick, Ian_Bick, I think it is. And I appreciate you guys. And again, thank you to the MrBeast team. I love you guys.